Okay, so we have just started to film this video and we realised we had too much to say. We were sat there like, I don't even know what to say because it's going down so many different routes. So we've realised that like friendships in general are much too big of a topic to put into one video. It's through grief, through loss. It covers so much. It's such a big part of your life anyway. But through loss, there's so many different sections that we could talk about in regard to friendships specifically. So we have to break these down into little videos. So we've decided we're going to have a whole section on our YouTube where it will be friendships, and within that it will be all the videos about the different sections.
So you've got like maintaining friendships, losing friendships, blossoming friendships, making new friends,
story times. Yeah, we're going to do some story times on like literally our experiences and even just like messages we received, mostly for like relief, but also to be like, this is actually the kind of shit that happened with friendships at that time. Bit of like relief, really.
Yeah. So yeah, this video is basically going to be about losing friendships in the early stages of grief, which we are technically still in. It's 9 months.
That's why we're doing this one.
Yeah, it's 9 months since Mum passed away, and a lot has happened in this time. But even just within those first few weeks, like few weeks, you lose so many people alongside losing your mum.
And we may as well just go straight into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You lose people instantly. Well, like instantly. As soon as I found out about Mum within that first week, and it seems unbelievable even saying it, but people just said nothing. And when I say people, I'm talking like good friends that I wouldn't have just expected something from, like a message. You thought
they were your...
And at the time, it's all a blur because you're not thinking who's messaging me, who's not. Your head is not there. Once you've had time, you notice, oh my God. Like, I never heard from them, and I've not heard since. So,
on that, I was actually going to say, but also, even though my mind wasn't like who hasn't like a tick list, there were certain people that I was waiting, because I was like, I want to hear from you, because you crave certain people in that time, and they don't show up, and it's like, I'm not going to text you telling you because I'm aware you know and whatever needs to happen.
But that's the first point, is like instantly, day of, week of, you're like, okay. With that loss has come so much more loss, and a lot of it is again loss that you didn't necessarily expect. There is also friendships that maybe not as close and you're not expecting, that you lose those too, but the point of that is just it is quick. It is like gone, and you're not sat there thinking that, but it just is. It's just done.
Yeah. Along with some saying nothing, the other thing is people that say something initially, so you hold, like, your best friends,
the people that you tell initially about what has happened, really you're putting weight on that friendship, because you're important enough to me for me to tell you, or my closest people to think I need to let that person know.
Yeah. Or to just go to.
If you're being told early,
then you mean so much. Then you mean a lot. And yeah, holding them so highly. And yes, they were there in that moment, but then in the following weeks aren't there.
Yeah.
And because you had them in that moment, you crave specifically to hear from them.
You expect more from them.
Yeah.
And it's all right to have those expectations, because like you said, you held those friends in high regard. And yeah, it's left there. It's like, okay, sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And that is like literally how it feels, isn't it? I mean, you don't hear from them again. And it is on them to reach out to you in that time. It is. It's not your job during that period to reach out to them and see how they're doing. They should be doing that for you, and that is a normal expectation and standard to hold your friends to, especially those ones. I think it is important that you've said that you held them in high regard. Friends will pull away, and we get it. We get how that feels. Like, naturally, a lot of people, they don't know what to say. Hence why we said some of them said absolutely fuck all. But they will pull away because they can't relate to you. A lot of people try and relate to you, which is also a whole different video. They will pull away because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to treat you. And it is a very isolating time anyway, but that is what I would say is the next stage. Like, you get the initial losses, and then the next one is the ones that are trying a little bit more, but they are also they have entirely shifted the way they are with you.
Yeah.
And you can feel them dragging back, and you're like, and there's not really a lot you can do about that.
Yeah.
And that's just a point that we're telling you happens. There's nothing really we can say about that.
No. With that as well, I think some people, again, we get people are trying. We've both been
That's
in that situation
the thing. That's the point
as well. Like where other people we know have lost people, and
yeah,
it's so hard. You don't know what to say. You don't know.
People are going to get it wrong.
Help. And people are going to get it wrong. That was expected. There was no anger there. But the bit that intertwines with losing friendships and them getting it wrong isn't about them getting grief wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting your friendship in grief wrong. So like, I don't know
or even not in grief, just your friendship.
Yeah, so it's not about like, I think there's some typical things like, oh, her mum died, I'm going to send her flowers. But it's like, no, Tilly, as my best friend, has lost her mum. What does Tilly want in this moment? And there are people, like you just said, you hold expectations to that think they know you more, not like grief and how to deal with grief more, but you. Like, what do I want? Or what would I need from you at that time? I don't know if that's making sense.
No, it does make sense. And it's a good example of the video we've already done, which is about like based on how are you. There's some really, really good friends that would just say to me, how are you? And regardless of that point, you know me anyway. Like one of my friends actually said to me, you're such an avoidant anyway, so it's hard to gauge how you are with this. And I was like, okay, if I'm an avoidant anyway, then you know how to approach things with me anyway as an avoidant, as someone who doesn't really talk about my feelings. So it shouldn't be any different in the grief. Like, you shouldn't push me further just because I'm grieving. Treat me how you normally do and our usual friendship. You're right, with you don't have to talk to me about it. You could just send me some flowers, you know? But like, to stay on the point that you were initially making about saying the wrong thing, it sometimes is impossible to get it right with grieving people. The thing to know is they can see that you're trying. So as much as it's like, oh, try and get your friendship right, we're also, as the grieving people, aware that people are going to get it wrong, and we're not sat here mad. But it's also just like those people that are grieving can't necessarily deal with that in a way that they've got capacity for right now. They just don't have capacity for bullshit, but they can still see that you getting it wrong is you at least trying, or at least doing your best. For example, like my friend, she's super religious, and she sent me like praying for you. And even if that's not something that I would do or you do, that is her trying, and that is her affection, and that is her way of being like, it's gonna be all right because I'm praying for you. Do you know what I mean? That's her way. It's not necessarily your way. But, and so, yeah, you might have got that wrong a bit there, but then we can also see you're trying in the way that you know how. And it is, sometimes people can't do wrong from right. Like, they'll send something and you'll be like, ugh, why are you saying that? But at the same time, we can see that you're saying something. You know, and it's, don't overcomplicate that, because as much as the grievers might feel a way about some things that you've said, they do get both sides. They're still human. I am trying to navigate my new life. I can't help you navigate my new life. Yeah. You know, like, I can't, which is why the whole, like, you may get it wrong as a friend is, it's okay to get it wrong. It's even better if you get it right. But like, if you as the friend are struggling with this, don't come to me. Go to their other friends or whatever and be like, I don't know how to do this, or if I'm doing enough, and they will give you comfort and they will help you navigate it, and also probably be like, yeah, neither, man, like, I don't know what to do with her. I, as the griever, cannot help you navigate how you feel about my mum dying. So if it's hard as the friend, it's true though, if you as the friend are struggling, go to some other friends or someone else. Don't put that on the griever. And the same way, like, it's also hard as the griever because you want to navigate friendships how they've always been, but you are a completely different person. And that, again, is not something we're going to go into in this video, because we're talking about the initial loss and just telling you that we get it and that we've had it and that it's instant. With that as well, and not being able to help them try and navigate your grief,
so much guilt comes with that. Guilt we talk about all the time, every video. Guilt is always coming up because well, you just said, well, you're not the person you used to be and you don't know how to. It's just important to know, as the friend of people grieving, that I do still care about you. I do still want to be there. So as the friend, the biggest tip I can give is just have patience. These people will come back to you. They will be there. They will show up at some point when they feel they can, but just be patient, because they're simply trying to get through each day, basically.
Things are just going to take longer. Like, they still care about you and your normal friendship in life. Just give them time. It's the same. I just need longer because I'm different. They don't stop caring about you because they're having a hard time. Quite the opposite. With the patience point that you've made, you, as the non-griever, you have no context as to what their days look like. Whether that's because you don't know what it's like, which is often the case, it's not always the case, just generally dealing with grief, but it's also that you don't have context to their day-to-day things that they have to sort.
Or just context, context to the actual situation, the death and what happened and what's to come. Like,
which again is a whole separate video, because people may or may not want to give you context. I certainly did not want to talk about Mum. I still haven't spoken about what happened, even with my absolute best friends. That's something to note, is like, I do understand that you're completely in the dark. You might always be in the dark and it isn't your place to ask, but that is a whole separate video.
But I think just with that and losing friendships is where they don't have context. Some people just assume things, and they assume the cause of death and that sort of stuff, but then they also assume what I believe people assumed, that sort of the normal protocol happened and that Mum died a couple of weeks later, they had the funeral and life cracks on, because they haven't got the context within that space of time, or haven't asked or haven't been told or whatever. So they just sort of then crack on and think all that's happened, when in reality we were so stuck and didn't have a funeral for 5 months. But some of my best friends didn't know that.
Yes, there's the day-to-day grieving, like I was saying, but there's the day-to-day things that, as the griever, you'll know there's so much to sort, whether that's their house, their car, their banks, the death certificate, the post-mortem, looking at venues for the funeral, technical things to figure out. So you, as the friend, are sat there thinking, I haven't heard back from them for 4 days and I did send them a message. This is where patience is key, because you don't have context. We spent 3 whole days physically lifting furniture from one place to another, and it took us 3 days, all 6 girls, 2 vans, and you're stressing that person hasn't replied. You don't know. A lot of these people might have lost their mum and be emptying her whole house. You do not have context as to what that day looks like. So if you even just get a blunt reply being like, yeah, good, patience,
or
an understanding that you don't have understanding.
It
basically just homes in on the point of patience. Patience is a big part of it, and also consistency. Like, you do want to maintain that friendship as the non-griever for a little bit, not forever, which is why we've got different stages of videos. It is on you to maintain it, because you cannot expect the griever to be doing that. And we're here to tell you that that is the case. Unfortunately, if people don't show at the beginning, it's hard to come back from that. It is hard to come back from that.
I don't know what's wrong.
Said. Yeah. I know, your brain's not working.
I feel a bit emotional, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. Unfortunately, with that, a lot of people are so selfish. I was about to swear, but they are. And through this experience, once again, like in every video, the camera absolutely did die,
I think we've moved a bit.
Yeah, we might have. You come to learn as the griever that a lot of your people around you are, they make everything about themselves. And it's like the no reply is like, well, I've tried and they're not showing up for me. Like I said, they still care about your friendship and everything like that. But unfortunately, it does highlight a lot of true colours in friendships, not just because you have certain expectations, but because these people make your reactions to things and your grief about them and how much their friendship means to you. And that is, again, it does come back to the patience point, but it's like, yes, with this, there is so many complex layers to like, this is what I'm going through, and I get that you don't get that, but also it does actually just show true colours of people. And that is an important thing to note, that you as the griever are not just mad and you're not just having the worst time of your life and people don't know what to do. Some people actually are just knobs. and you learn it now. And that's hard in itself to learn now. It's hard to learn at any point, but that is also the truth. That is something to consider, that actually they're not as good of a person as you did think they were, and they are selfish, and you learn that a lot of your friendships are based on you and the effort that you put into that anyway, which isn't a bad thing. It's hard to learn at now that you're a bit of a dick, but you were going to learn it at some point anyway. It's hard, but it's all right, because it's better to have those people gone anyway.
Yeah, than waste any more time. I think this probably applies to like other people grieving, in that you can probably relate when we say we didn't want to be social, but we did want connection. And that's again about people showing that they care and saying, I really am here whenever you're ready. And when you
whatever that looks like.
whatever that looks like, but intertwines with the guilt, like, no, I don't want to come for a shopping day, I am not there, but I do want to know how your shopping day was,
and I appreciate the invite.
And I still want to be like in the bubble, just not physically in the
don't
bubble.
cut that person off, they've been punished enough.
So in summary, right,
for this particular thing, like, there is so much more.
And I think for the like whole future of this whole channel and us, our life and grieving and talking, just our grieving journey, this is always going to come up. Friendships are always going to shift and change and whatever, so this will always be intertwined, but this was just, like I said, dedicated to that initial thing. And for other grievers, I think we just want to say that it is okay to pull away from friendships. It's okay that you can't be everything to everyone how you were before, and take this time for yourself, and those that get it, and the friends that want to get it will get it, and the ones that don't want to won't. And that's shit to learn, but we feel you, sister.
And it can change. I think a really important thing is, like, give yourself grace 100%. Like, lean on the friends that are there, and it's all right to think, okay, I'm not as close with that person right now, and they're not serving me what I maybe need right now, and it's okay to leave them or just view them a little differently. Whatever you need to focus on yourself, like you said, the ones that are there and get it and get you, lean on that, and that's great. Don't put pressure on how those friendships might chop and change. Like, if someone got it wrong at the beginning and you felt anger, it's all right that you felt anger then. It doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to feel anger towards that person. It might be that 6 months down the line they do get it right, or they do reach out, and you don't feel that anger anymore, and you think, it would actually be nice to see them. Stages of grief are crazy. Stages of grief will change. Everyone has a different experience of it, and it might be worse in 4 years' time, and then that friendship changes for other reasons. Give grace in that sense of, it's all right that maybe for a month you thought, oh god, I hate that person, and the following month you think, gosh, I really miss that person, and go back to it, and don't overthink, like, oh, they've reached out now, but at the time they were shit. It's all right for someone to have been shit at the time and now they're not, or now you've come into a different space in your head and you're like, oh, I really want to see them.
Or they gauged some sort of context, or someone gave them some context.
Well, it doesn't matter how. That's the thing. It doesn't matter how it happened. It doesn't matter why it's happened. I'm just saying, give yourself grace in the sense of, if something isn't serving you, it's okay to pull away. But it is also okay to return to things. Don't overcomplicate and overthink everything if you can. You don't have to hold certain feelings that you might have felt at a point in time, because in normal life, friendships and lives chop and change anyway. Taking the grief out of it, it's all right to not be friends with someone for a while. Nothing has to have happened for that to be the case, and nothing has to have happened for that friendship to come back together as well. People's lives grow and change in so many different ways. Grief is just an absolutely huge one. So
and you have highlights everything in each moment. So
you have to factor in that's normal anyway. So it's all right to have different feelings at different points about the same person. Is what I'm saying. Again, we're going to do story times. For me, I definitely experienced that a lot of my friendships are based on me being a free therapist, and I definitely couldn't be a free therapist for everyone's lives during this time. So I did learn a lot about, like, okay, that friendship is very much based on me helping you, and you don't necessarily bring that much to me. And I'm not saying that that isn't something I can be again at some point. I'm not saying that that's something I completely want to throw away, but it's definitely something I realised.
To be honest, I think that's similar for me. Like, yeah, I've always been that person, or just even maybe less on the therapy thing and more just more of the active person in friendship, as in, let's have a FaceTime, let's get a date in the diary, which I understand people are a bit like, oh, and that's with the shying away
but
thing.
The friendship
but like,
relies on
if
you.
I don't do that, it doesn't happen. Like, they've never said, I want to come and see you, or I want to come, let's have a call. That's and if that doesn't happen, there is nothing. And yeah, I don't want to be the person to do that right now. That's that. You checked out.
Yeah. So that's it, really. You're going to lose a lot of friends.
But we feel it. And if you see this and come across this and want to talk about it, chat to us if need be. Goodbye.
To losing friends.
Cheers.